right, hello wine drinking people. Today is Thursday, the 9th of June, making our way through a hot summer here in South Florida. And you know, champagne is always on my mind, one of my favorite beverages. And if I had three wines to drink on my last day on this earth, one of them would definitely be champagne. One of them would be Nebbiolo. I might have to think about the other one for a little bit. But those two, definitely two of my favorite wines. And I was just in Champagne for my first time, and for someone who loves champagne as much as I do, I can't believe it took me that long to get there, but I can tell you I'm going back. And the reason why it was such a great trip was small producers like Paul Dethune. You know, this is a husband and wife team, and their history goes back to the 17th century in Champagne. Like so many people, they produce 50,000 bottles, so a small producer off 7 hectares vineyards in Ambonnay, one of the most famous Grand Cru vineyards of all the 17 Grand Crus. This one is famous for its Pinot Noir, and you know, to be able to sell a 100% Grand Cru, just their Brut, which is $50 a bottle, less than most of the big companies sell for. Just incredible value. That's one of the things I learned in Champagne is, you know, you don't want to buy the wines that have spent the big dollars marketing them. You want to buy the wines that have spent the money putting it into the product. And when you look at the label and see Grand Cru, that is one of the most important things. Well, Pierre learned to walk the vineyards alongside his father, Paul. And like I said, they came from a long line of vintners, went all the way back to 1610. Wow. And, you know, Sophie also a Champagne owner's family, and that's what they said. You know, a lot of people, look, if you want to increase your holdings, you got to marry up in this in the Champagne region. That's the only way to get more land, because it is incredibly expensive to buy vineyard land. And you know, the age of the grower producer could be short-lived, as according to Sophie, because of these big producers you know, making it hard for the grower producers to compete. The current laws make it much easier for these big houses to make money. They can pay less taxes by having their company, you know, outside of the country and other things like that. But you know, I saw a lot of great small producers and a lot of great value, so I'm not too worried about the small producer going away anytime soon in Champagne. The Brut here, a blend of 70 Pinot, 30 Chardonnay, matured in steel, fresh lemon, citrus, and green apple, notes of candied ginger and white flowers. They're very smooth and creamy. This wine aged for 3 years on the lees, like all the great Champagne houses. By law, it only has to be 15 months, but all the great ones age it for a little longer. The Rosé, this wine, lovely light raspberry and strawberry fruit on the nose, fresh flowers, really fresh and vibrant. That lovely creamy mousse here, and nice raspberry rose petal notes on the finish, and excellent rosé. Well, we had some new wines that we've never had in the store here, like these vintage wines, the Millésime wines. We have 2000, we have 2002, 2004, and these are 60% Chardonnay and 40% Pinot Noir for the most parts, and really lovely concentration and richness you get out of the vintage champagnes. And these wines predominantly Chardonnay, so for a Pinot Noir village, maybe a little bit odd, and showing a little more richness than the non-vintage Brut, aged for a little longer on the lees, 5 to 7 years for these wines, which gives them a little creamier texture, a little more of that yeast autolysis. And the most exciting new champagnes from this producer, which I didn't even know existed in Champagne, are these Ancien wines, which the Ancient wines are Solera blends, and we have 2 different ones, and these are they have the disgorgement date on the back, 0704, and we're calling them Ancien 2000 and Ancient 2004. I guess that's the year the blend was made, the Cuvee, and then they put those wines on tirage because they were aged for 7 years on the lees before their release. And these wines are just over $100 a bottle, but incredible, the richness and creaminess and concentration in these 2 wines. Let me tell you, I've tried both of them again since I've gotten back, and just incredibly powerful, but still delicate. They have this lovely honeyed character to them, crystallized fruit, and just incredible richness and length on the finish. Still very fresh, even though these wines, like I said, made with a Solera, which is very unique. I didn't even know this system of production existed in Champagne, and we saw at least 2 producers that made wines like this, supposedly how they used to a long time ago. Well, we have their Blanc de Noir also, the 100% Cuvée Pinot Noir. And these guys also aged their wine in a little bit of oak, which you don't see in too many places. Of course, Bollinger famous for this, and then my favorite Champagne house, Krug. But I'll tell you, these Ancien wines, some of my favorite wines that I've ever had from Champagne. Unfortunately, we have case or less of all of the vintage wines and the ancient wines, and they only made 1,000 bottles of either production. So very, very limited. And like I said, some of the best champagnes that I've ever tasted. So check out all the wines from Paul Dethune from Ambonnay. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.